John and I are just going to talk to you a little bit about water safety and also road safety. So if you move to the next slide, please. There's not really three types of water, which you never think about. We have closed water. Now that's like a swimming pool. It's somewhere that's very, very safe. Like, you know, you go in there, it's controlled. You know, there's lifeguards. You know, it's a very, very safe environment. We have sea, which is obviously the responsibility of the RNLI, and you know, the sea can be really dangerous. And one we talk about really today is open water, and one we don't really think about. And yet we get young people, obviously not the day like today, but throwing themselves off piers, off bridges, jumping into water because it's boiling hot and they want to cool themselves down. And that has a real danger for us. Firstly, if you do it, you don't know what the depth of the water is going to be. And we have seen some really nasty injuries. People jump off a bridge, think it's a great idea. The water's only maybe a foot, 2 foot deep, or there's a big boulder there, and you go down, poof, and that's your legs gone. Legs are broken. And then you've got the real problem of getting yourself out of that water. You'll be with your friends, won't you? But you still got that danger. You won't be able to move and you go into shock. Staying on the subject of shock, then we have cold water shock. Now, this is a major problem. And some of you might have gone into a plunge pool. There are some around in some venture parks and places like Centre Parks, etc. We always recommend avoid them. They're not really good for your system. It's when you go into water that's so much colder than the temperature around you, and it's that initial shock. And what people do when they get into the water and they jump in, if it's like me and you walk into sea, I go really softly, I tiptoe, and you know, walking, oh, that's cold, and I stop, and I walk a bit more, oh, that's cold. I work my way, it takes about 10 minutes to get up to my neck in water. If you just jump straight into water, your whole body gets that cold water shock immediately. You then start to panic. You'll flail your arms around, you'll kick your legs, you'll be shouting, and that's exactly the wrong thing to do. If you do that, your body starts closing itself down. It's closing itself down to the core to protect the core. So your heart, your internal organs, and your arms and legs will stop working really quickly. And then the likelihood is you're going to drown. What you should do is just take the shock and just try and relax in the water. Put your arms out, kick water gently with your legs, and just try and get used to that temperature before you then try and get to the side to pull yourself out. Now, in some areas we have hidden currents you don't know about them. This might be in reservoirs, etc. And the water will just come along underneath you. You can't see it, and it'll just sweep you away from safety of the bank. So again, that's another huge danger for us. Pollution, rubbish, debris, reeds, all these things are in the water. And, you know, we don't really think about it, but, you know, rats. They say there's a rat near us, you know, almost wherever we are in this country. Rats love riverbanks, they really do. And rats wee all the time. And their wee goes in the water. You jump in that water, you get some of that in your mouth, you're going to be seriously ill. You really are. So again, we don't know what's there. The rubbish, what people throw into the rivers and banks is not good, is it? Shopping trolleys. There's lots of sometimes old fishing line and nets, etc. You jump in, go into the water, get your foot trapped there and you can't get out, then again, you're in serious trouble. And John and I did a film recently about, you know, jumping into riverbanks. And if you look at a riverbank, it tends to be really steep on both sides. It's full of reeds, it's full of nettles and other things you don't really want to put your hands on. So trying to jump out or climb out once you jumped in might be a lot harder than you think. And the other really important thing about, unlike beaches like in Bridlington where they have lifeguards generally, etc., and the swimming pools, you know, if you just choose to jump into a ditch, a river, a stream, off a pier, etc., there are no lifeguards there looking out for you. Go to the next slide, please. So, what we like you to do, if you see somebody in danger in the water, we really like you to try and get their attention. You know, shout and wave at them, say, "Hey, are you all right? Are you all right?" And see if they say, "No, help," then give them some instructions. Tell them to kick their legs and move their arms. Most of you have done this in swimming lessons where you just tread water. That's all you want them to do. They don't have to do frantic things because that's going to tire them out. Speak to them. Really, really important to speak to somebody. If somebody's panicking, you need to be speaking to them. Say, it's going to be all right. I've called the Coast Guard. I've called the fire service. You know, they're on the way to help you. You're all right. If there's somebody else around, yeah, get them to help you as well. Don't forget, you have to ring 999. It doesn't matter who, when you ring 999, if you ask for an ambulance, it makes no difference. If you say somebody's in water, in trouble, they will contact the fire services. We will come out. You don't have to ring the emergency services more than once. They all talk to each other. They all know whatever the job is, they'll pass it on to the most relevant one. And really, really important, and this happens every year, lots and lots of dog owners drown because they go into the sea or they go into a river or a pond, etc., where their dog's gone in. They think the dog's in trouble. They go in there, they get into trouble, and more often than not, the dog gets out by itself, but they don't. And people drown every year because of that. You've got to be really, really careful around water. We think that it's nice and it cools us down, but you only need about a centimetre of water going inside your mouth for you to drown. It's not very much at all. And as a fire service, remember, we're a fire and rescue service. So we're not just about putting fires out. We're all about rescuing people in water, road traffic, etc. You just got to be really careful where you go in the water. We'd always recommend, well, when they open again, certainly swimming pools. You know, Britain's got a lovely one now, hasn't it? And Beverly, etc. You know, go to a place that's supervised and you're safe. This is all about being safe. You don't just jump in. Right, next slide, please. I'm going to pass across to John now. He's going to talk a little bit about cycle safety.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Something just as Mark said, the rescue service, not just the fire service. Most of our work, the vast majority of the fire services work isn't putting fires out. It's dealing with car crashes. It's dealing with victims of road traffic accidents. Yeah. So it's really important about getting noticed to reduce your risk of being involved in something. You need to be out there. If you're on your bike, you need to be seen by drivers. And drivers have got an awful habit of just looking straight ahead for other vehicles like themselves, cars, bigger vehicles. I ride a motorcycle. I've had quite a few near misses because drivers quite simply aren't looking for me. Now I've got a big 1700, which makes a lot of noise, and I'm easy to miss, right? So on a pedal bike, you are really, really very vulnerable. So it's really important. As you can see, the slide there, those guys on the left with the high vis tabards on, they've got helmets on. One guy's got what look like almost high vis gaiters. Very easy to see, but actually they're breaking the law because they haven't got lights on the back of the actual cycles. You can see by the headlight at the front, they've got front lights on, but they haven't got anything from behind. It's really important to make sure they have lights on your bike and that your lights actually work. As you can see by that picture on the right, there's actually, they're not breaking the law, they're fine, they're legal because the guy's got bike lights on, right? Really easy to see? I don't think so. Those guys on the left are far, far easier. But actually, potentially, they're adhering to the law. Now, this time of year where you get lots of mud on the road, if you get dirty water being thrown up, that rear light could be obscured in no time at all. It's really important to make sure it's nice and bright, okay? But don't just rely on that light. Wear something that's going to get you noticed, yeah? If you haven't got a high vis on, you can be seen from about 30 meters away by a driver in the dark, yeah? If you are wearing high vis, you can be seen quite clearly from about 160 meters away. Now that's an extra 130 meters that the driver has got to actually make a plan to get past you to make sure he doesn't hit you. If that driver's doing, I mean, we've had some people doing crazy speeds in the lockdown. We had one guy recorded on Beverly Road doing 90 and a 30, yeah? You know, there's some people driving like crazy people out there. So it's really important about getting noticed. The more noticeable you are, the less chance you have of being involved in any collision. And just for the record, that picture on the right, yeah, where the guy hasn't got the high vis on, there's actually 3 people in that photograph. And you can't tell that at all, can you? Can you put the next slide on, please? Cheers, Devon, thank you. So it's really important about getting yourself noticed, isn't it? Now, we're looking at cycle casualties here, right? 46% of injuries occur at junctions, yeah? That's because, as I said before, drivers tend to be looking straight forward. Now, you probably can't see this behind me. I've got a load of greenery and grass. Let's have a look. Bushes, can you see them? Yeah, now can you just imagine if I was at a T-junction there and I was wearing, I don't know, a dark jacket like this or a camouflage jacket, which you see people wearing, you're going to blend in with that background. Yeah, it's really important about being noticed. So if I'm driving down the road and you're waiting to pull out and you've got a dark coat on, see it's winter time, you've got a brown jacket on, all the foliage is dying, you're going to blend in. It's like camouflage, isn't it? If you're wearing a really bright pink high vis or a bright green or yellow high vis, you're going to stand out. And if you stand out, you've much less chance of being injured. As you can see that the figures there, 46% of injuries occur at junctions, yeah? And 86% occur after being hit by a vehicle. It's quite plain, it's pretty obvious for everybody to see. Drivers really aren't looking for cyclists, so it's about standing out, about being noticed, yeah? And the more you stand out, the safer you're going to be, okay? A lot of our work, unfortunately, is dealing with people who've been run over by cars. The next slide, please. Okay, right, mobile phone. We've all got mobile phones. Right, I've got one here, as you can see. Yeah, my mobile phone, that's in a case. Mobile phones are brilliant. The cases are fantastic, right? They protect your phone. Right, what happens is you drop your phone, that point of impact, the actual pressure, the impact spread right away across the phone, and there's much less chance, yeah, of your phone being damaged. As you can see by the picture there, you can see the point of impact. What's happened is the impact points in the center of the screen and it's spread out right the way across. That's how a bike helmet works. You fall off your bike and bang your head, right? The same as a mobile phone cover. That point of impact, if you're not wearing a helmet, that point takes all the pressure. If you've got a helmet on, it spreads it right the way across the length and width of the helmet, which stops your head being injured. Yeah. Your mobile phones are brilliant. You can ring people, you can text people, you can play games, social media, whatever. You protect your phone, don't you? Because it costs a lot of money to get it fixed. If you don't, right? A couple £100, £100 for a new screen, so you protect your phone. Why would you go on your bike and not wear a helmet? Because your head's a bit like a mobile phone, isn't it? Yeah, it enables you to speak to people, have memories, yeah, social media, right? So why take the risk of damaging your head? When I ride my motorbike, I have to wear a helmet by law, and it reduces the risk of death by something like 46%. Really, I think it should be law that you have to wear one on a pedal bike, because they have a massive impact and they really do save lives. Next slide, please. Charles Devon, as you can see, that helmet there, it's on the bonnet of an ambulance. That's why it's that awful garish, greeny, yellow colour. That's actually the ambulance bonnet. But as you can see, looking at the helmet there, it's broken right from the back to the front. And if you look at the bottom of the helmet there, you'll see all red stuff on it. That's actually dried blood. Now that helmet there, right, the guy was knocked off his bike, right? It was in Hull, right? Smashed his head off the ground. As you can see, the bike helmet saved his life. Had he not been wearing that helmet, he would have undoubtedly been killed. As it happens, he got 5 stitches in his head and was released from hospital the same day. Now, my colleague Mark actually rang the guy up afterwards, yeah, to check up on him and actually just to get a follow through for this story. On his way home, that guy called into Halfords with his stitches in his head and bought a new helmet before he even got home. Without shadow of a doubt, that helmet saved his life. You can't not understand that, can you? It's so obvious. Really important, guys. Wear helmets. They do save lives. And the next one, please. Okay, so cycle safety, right? Pretty straightforward stuff, right? Wear bright clothing. As I've said, it's about being noticed. The more noticeable you are, the safer you'll be. Right, when wearing your headphones, yeah, or on a mobile phone, right, if you're a pedestrian, for example, or a cyclist, you've actually stopped one of your senses. More often than not, you'll hear a car before you see it. So don't wear headphones when you're cycling. If you feel that you have to, just have one in, so you've still got your hearing to see what's going on around you, okay? And for goodness sakes, use a helmet, yeah? I can't stress that enough. They do save lives. And the next slide, please. Okay, pedestrian safety, right? Who's had a near miss with a car? I think most of us have stepped out there, Mark has, right? I've been hit by a car. That's got the big scars on the side of my head. I wouldn't recommend, because it really hurts, right? But it's really, really easy to be distracted. The car that hit me, I never even saw. Okay, it's simple as that. Right? I never saw it. So if you're looking across the road, you've got earphones in, You can be easily distracted by the music, by the conversation you're having on the phone. Take the earphones out. Have all your senses around you, yeah? And listen when you're going to cross the road, because as I said before, you more often will hear a car before you see it. When you cross the road, right, how many people do you know who cross the road and they don't even look? They're like that texting. They're so engrossed at what's going on. And these things on the mobile phone, they're so engrossed at what's happening, they'll step out in the road in front of them without even looking. I had somebody step in front of me where I live in Driffield. Luckily enough, it was market day, right, because I'd slowed right down and actually noticed her on the phone. She never even saw me and stepped out in front of us. Luckily for her, I'd slowed right down because I anticipated what she was going to do. Yeah, she didn't even look. So engrossed with her mobile phone, distracted completely. Please, if you're going to use your phone, like stand still or talk on your phone. But if you've got earphones in and you're crossing your roads, whatever, take the earphones out and just think. You know, you're not kids, you're not young adults out there, right? But just teaching you ways, just simple things you can do to keep yourself safe and potentially alive, okay? And when you're listening to your music whilst you're walking, that's fine, not an issue with that. But if you're going to cross the road, please take one or both earphones out, yeah? Because actually it's easy to look without looking because you're so engrossed at what's going on around you with the music and stuff. So take it out, okay? Just little things you can do to keep safe. And the next one, please. That's it. There we go. Okay, very much like being a cyclist again. Look, wear bright clothing, especially in the winter time when it's the dark nights. Yeah, you don't have to wear high vis, but wear a lighter jacket, something that reflects the headlights of the car. Yeah, something that makes you stand out. Because if you wear a dark jacket like this, it absorbs all the light. Okay, and what happens is the driver won't see it till they're virtually on top of you. You wear something where you can be seen from a long way off. You will be safer, okay? And like I said before, be careful when wearing your headphones, mobile phones, whatever, earphones, yeah? And look both ways, right? It's not rocket science. You know, we get taught from being a little kid, you look both ways. We actually stop and look instead of just stepping out. But it's easy to be distracted if you're on the phone or if you're wearing earphones, okay? Little things you can do to keep yourself safe. And as I said before, potentially keep you alive. Okay, the last thing I want to do is to have to witness somebody being run over, right? The last thing I want to do is being run over again. I'm lucky I'm still here. There's an awful lot of people who, in my position, never got through it. So be safe, keep yourself safe, and get yourself noticed. It's about little simple things that can make a massive difference. Next slide, please. Okay, so in conclusion, right, your safety is your responsibility, yeah, with possible life-changing repercussions. Little things you can do, little bit of common sense can actually save an awful lot of pain and heartache. All we ask is that you're safe. Okay, keep yourself safe. Go and ride your bike. Have a great time riding your bike. But do the little things. Check the brakes work. Check that your lights work. Yeah. Wear high vis, right? And check your tires, right? And more than anything, check your brakes, because if your brakes don't work and you can't stop, you're in a world of trouble. Little things you can do, straightforward, but they'll keep you safe and alive. Thank you. That's it. Any questions?